Hey, everybody, welcome back to another edition of Technical Talkular Tuesday. I don't know.
Good one.
Techular. Tech. It's Tech Talk Tuesday. It's the second. So we just missed our rabbit moment. It's fine if you're not familiar with that. Go back in our prior episodes. You'll eventually come across one from the first and regret probably watching it. But we got a lot of great stuff for you today. Joined always with my partner in crime, Neil Tardy. Neil, how are you today?
I'm doing great. I'm enjoying the nice weather that we're having currently. Starting to feel a little bit like spring, so really enjoying that right now.
Yeah, man, I love it. Definitely exciting. It's it's an opportunity to get back out. I'm not going to, but it's an opportunity to get back out. It's what people want.
That's
You
right.
got to give the people what they want, Neil. So yeah, as far as giving people what they want, actually, Chad Lund, who's a repeat offender here on Tech Talk Tuesday,
Right.
has a great story about Twitter, and they're kind of making waves with some interesting additions that they've made. Let's hear about that.
Last week, articles in both The Verge and The Guardian outlined a couple of key new features that Twitter will be rolling out soon. Now, these features were announced by Twitter during their recent investors conference, and two of those I want to talk about today. The first one is called Super Follows. This allows users to charge for a variety of content such as bonus tweets, subscriber-only newsletters, videos, deals and discounts, and then which is kind of a nice thing for Twitter. It's another way that they can get revenue stream in addition to advertisements, because they'll clearly skim a certain amount off the top of this, but it's also going to allow users the ability to collect revenue directly from their followers, as well as incentivize these same users to create more targeted content for a very specific audience. Now, this sounds a whole lot like the description of OnlyFans, which brings up the question, will Twitter monitor and or enforce the same community rules that they currently use for their free content that's posted by users, or will, if it's paid or it's separate and not being such public, will it open that up? Which, again, back to my OnlyFans reference, may not be too far off, or might add a whole different avenue of Twitter than has been their existing platform. Now, the next features is called Communities. Now, this feature is going to be very similar to Facebook groups in that it will allow individuals to create communities targeted for various certain reasons, and predominantly you can join for free, or if you combine this with the Super Follows feature, you can create a community or certain groups and or charities, nonprofits, political, or even certain campaigns can create groups that will charge users in order to join them. Now, which again is kind of an interesting thing when you think about it, is, they're kind of coming late into the game in terms of, you've got Facebook groups, you've got a lot of different meetup groups on different various social media platforms, so they're coming into this. But in all seriousness, both features certainly have a huge upside and lots of potentials for users and or groups, such as companies, if you're wanting to charge for certain deals and discounts that you pay a certain amount, or even politicians that are hoping to raise monies for their campaign, i.e. Hello Obama crowd level sourcing campaign contributions, or even charities or nonprofits that need to raise money for their cause. Which, speaking of, I wonder if there is a software company out there that helps charities and nonprofits in raising funds through some kind of app that could be used during a silent auction, or something along that lines. Oh wait, that's right, there is a company, and I believe both of you nerds work there.
I see no evidence that we do.
No evidence.
None.
None.
No, those are great. Yeah, thanks, Chad. So yeah, I mean, great points. I mean, I think this is a really interesting turn for me for Twitter. I really love his call out for the OnlyFans thing, because yeah, I mean, it's like why else are you going to pay for your content? I mean,
Yeah.
and it's a little sad, right? Because I know that Facebook and a lot of companies are actually facing a lot of scrutiny with the new law in Australia, where they're basically like you need to pay up for some of this news content and stuff. So it's like there's a whole wrangle there. But I mean, yeah, what else are you going to pay for it? Like, I don't know. It's kind of weird for me. What do you think?
Yeah, I think that when I came across this and I started reading about it, the first thing that I thought of was like super likes on Tinder. And I was like, so we're turning this into Tinder, which, I mean, whatever. Like, they're doing this because clearly market research says that, hey, this is a good idea. And there's a subsection of people that will use this and we will make money off of that. Yeah, I do think that it's really interesting what Chad brought up about, like, are they going to use the same moderation as, like, they're free? I think they will, because it's part of their terms of service, or terms of condition. So I think that that'll probably be the case. But yeah, I mean, could they go a different direction with that? Yeah, they totally could.
Yeah, I guess it'll be interesting to see how that pans out. They're just trying to make money. They're really still trying to figure out how are they going to go black on it. So, you know what? Best of luck to them. Am I going to be selling my content on there? I don't know. We'll see, right? Maybe you'll see Tech Talk Tuesday. No one's going to pay for this. We're going to pay for it. They're not going to pay for it, right? So interesting. Obviously, there's been a lot of inclement weather, and we're just now recovered. But there's some great stories about really like looking at fossil fuels versus like solar and all the renewables and stuff. And Chad's back at it again, talking about solar, Tesla specifically, Tesla, or not Telsa, as my insurance agent called my car. Their solar roofs, and really kind of a compare and contrast against what has been for so many years.
By now, I'm sure most of you are aware about the unprecedented winter storm that occurred in the state of Texas a couple weeks ago, when a winter storm that was accompanied with single-digit temperatures, snow and ice hit the majority of the state. Now, this storm would have been devastating enough, but was further compounded when it knocked out power and utilities for the majority of the state, resulting in a loss of heat, as well as in some cases even water, when city water mains busted, or building pipes and home pipes busted as a result of water freezing. And it really led to some very apocalyptic things with food shortages, water shortages, and no heat, again while temperatures barely got above freezing for an entire week. Well, in the midst of this chaos, it turns out that one thing in Texas did work. And what I'm not referring to is a certain politician's family's airline that flew them to Mexico so they could avoid this very winter storm and chaos. No, what I'm talking about is an article that I read last week in the Tech Times regarding Tesla solar roof systems. Now, I was curious about this as I was reading that this article indicated that not only did the homes in Texas, only a few at this point, that had these Tesla solar roof systems, never lost power, certainly didn't lose heat if they had electric heat, and had enough power to add even back onto the power grid because they were that efficient. Now, until now, I hadn't really heard much about the Tesla solar roof systems. I remember maybe reading a few years ago that they were thinking about coming out with these, but you didn't really see much press or even news articles about this. Well, in 2016, Tesla did try to launch these solar roof systems. However, they weren't really quite as efficient as they originally hoped, didn't operate as advertised, and they lay dormant for a while. But in 2019, Tesla relaunched their solar roof systems, and now have been installed in thousands of homes across the US. Now, unlike solar roof systems that have been around for decades. I mean, as far back as the 70s and 80s in some cases. What makes these different than the ones that you see are rather common, that are 6 inches to a foot above the regular roof, look like a daggone helicopter landing pad, and are just quite simply ugly. The Tesla solar roof system replaces your entire roof and comes in many different styles that are meant to resemble either shingles and or tile roofs. Now, the neat thing about these is that these roofs, like down in Texas, which again heat your entire home, but in addition to that, in your more northern states such as Minnesota, the mountains of Colorado, or Wisconsin, these panels also serve to melt snow and keep feet and feet and feet of snow that fall in those states from weighing down the roof and collapsing the entire thing. So kind of a cool, neat feature. Now, apparently these solar roof systems by Tesla are also pretty daggone durable. There was lots of product videos showing people with hammers just hammering the heck out of them, and they never broke, which, as we know, is a very different result than the original Cybertruck windows that Elon Musk claimed were shatterproof. It didn't work, and when he took a hammer to those, well, we saw what happened there.
Yeah, I've actually been really interested in the solar roof. If I was going to stay in this house for maybe another 10 years even, it's definitely something I would look into. Have you, like, you're in a new place? Is this something that you would consider?
I don't think I'd consider it currently. It's just out of my price range right now. Like, it is fairly expensive to do so. But yeah, I mean, if I had the money to do it, I think I would. I think that this is a great investment, particularly if you are like eco-conscious. I think it's great. I mean, they're continuing to improve as well, as Chad was alluding to. They started in 2016, kind of bombed, came back out a few years later. They iterated over that, and they've gotten better. And clearly, it worked with the winter storm that blew through Texas, right? So, yeah, I mean, if you're looking to go solar, like, that's a really, really good option.
Yeah, I love it. That combined with the power wall for actually storing the energy and basically serving as a giant battery for your house. Yeah, that's really cool. So our third segment's really something that a very unique and special individual cooked up.
That's right.
Yeah, Neil, tell us a little bit about what you did here.
All right. Oh, I will. Are you ready?
Hold on. Let's do it.
I know what you're thinking and what you were hoping for. Your grandma's famous raspberry pie. I'm sorry, that does sound very delightful, but what I have here is also just as delightful, but in a totally different way. We're talking about a Raspberry Pi made by the Raspberry Pi Foundation out of the UK. They are roughly the same size as a credit card, and it is an example of a single board computer, which has all of the basic hardware components of a computer and various extensions. A micro SD card serves as a hard drive while also providing the operating system. A micro USB charger, like a smartphone charger, can be used as the power supply. An internet connection can be set up with a network cable. The USB sockets make it super easy to connect a mouse, keyboard, or even an external hard drive. The HDMI connection also allows you to hook up a monitor. Not to mention, the device also comes with several pins that can be programmed to do whatever you want. So it's a great little computer. Yeah, that's it. Now, you may be thinking to yourself, Neil, what can a credit card size computer actually do? Well, your imagination is really your only limit with the Raspberry Pi. It was created in such a way that with its extensions, you can do a lot of different projects. Here are just some examples. Ever wanted to host your own website on a server that you own? Well, the Raspberry Pi can do that. While it can't host any crazy dynamic or highly user traffic sites, such as like Facebook or something like that, it can certainly host simpler and low visitor count sites, which is pretty cool. You're not really into hosting your own website? Well, how about video conferencing? We've all been video conferencing recently with COVID, and it'd be pretty cool to have your own like video station that you can use for Zoom, Skype, or Hangouts. Okay, I know what you're saying. not really your style either. Well, everything in our home is connected to the internet these days, like even your refrigerator. So, I mean, wouldn't it be nice to have one device that can control all of your connected devices? That's right. You can connect everything to your Raspberry Pi and control it from that Raspberry Pi in one location. Okay, that's not doing it for you either. Well, want to be the cool parent, or just a man-child like Matt and myself? Well, set up your Raspberry Pi to host a Minecraft server, or even get the Minecraft Pi Edition to customize your own Minecraft experience. Those are just a few of the projects and ways that you can utilize the Raspberry Pi, and I'm just barely scratching the surface. You may be thinking to yourself, Neil, those are some really neat ideas, but man, who can actually pull that off? Well, the thing is that you don't actually need any programming or computer hardware experience to be able to get started with one of these things. Let me tell you the best part about Raspberry Pi. It's the community surrounding Raspberry Pi. There are tons of projects and tutorials out there that have step-by-step guides for all sorts of projects. Heck, the Raspberry Pi Foundation actually has tons of fun projects on their site. And not to mention, they also have tons of kid-friendly projects like I alluded to get your kiddos interested in computing. Now, you still may need to code a little bit, and that can certainly be intimidating for anyone who doesn't do it for a job or has past experience. Well, Raspberry Pi has a solution for you as well. Raspberry Pi is compatible with Scratch, which is a much simpler and more visual type of programming language. I promise you, if you give it an honest shot, you will be able to create fun, interesting projects with the Raspberry Pi. Okay, I've convinced you. You're going to get yourself a Raspberry Pi. Now, where can you find it and for how much? Head on over to raspberrypi.org and search for the model that you want. Keep in mind there are things that you will need, such as a mouse, keyboard, and a monitor, as none of these things are going to come with your Raspberry Pi. Models can range anywhere from $35 to $100, so there's plenty of wiggle room there. Make sure that you have everything you need to get started on your first project, though, as extensions such as Wi-Fi connectors or heat sensors are not going to come with your Raspberry Pi out of the box. I really hope that this was helpful and gives you some confidence to jump in and create something cool. If Matt and I can do it, so can you.
Hey man, that was awesome. I really appreciate that. What's funny is that you did this segment, but I actually am holding a Raspberry Pi right here. This is one of my unused ones that has a nice little case around it. But this is a Raspberry Pi 4. It's one of the newer models. But man, I love these things. And we were actually talking earlier. I'm getting back into 3D printing, and it can be very, very intimidating to try to figure out how to operate this thing. And what software to use, and like how do I download models and do all this stuff. But I've plugged one of my Raspberry Pis in, and running a service called Octopi, which is an adorable name, allows me to wirelessly really manage my entire setup, which is really, really cool. But like you said, man, there's a ton of stuff you can do.
Yeah, and I mean, I threw up the SpongeBob meme, but I mean, it really is up to you, like how far you want to try and take this thing. Like, they've built it in such a way that you can do pretty much whatever you want with it. Mm-hmm. And yeah, I mean, as I was like, I've played around with Raspberry Pis before and Arduinos, which is basically the same thing, just by a different company. And I mean, I've had a blast doing them, and I learn something new every time I do it. Every time I take on a new project, something comes up where it's a learning experience, and I have to interact with somebody in the community to help figure something out. And yeah, I mean, I truly do mean that the community around Raspberry Pi is truly awesome and very, very helpful.
Yeah, man, I love it. If anyone's interested, definitely hit us up. Like we this is one of those things that we just love to geek out about. One of the other things that I really like to geek out about. But before I move on, Neil, great job, man. That was very thorough, by the way. I really I was like almost forgot that we were back from the clip. Like, I was just kind of like watching and really enjoying that. So anyway, so good job. But our actual viewer question is really around something that gets brought up. I don't know. I feel like this gets like once a month. Like it gets drawn out and there's some kind of big hurrah about it, and then it kind of goes back. But it's really simple. And it's, what is the dark web, right? Because this is a really difficult thing for us, I think, to understand. Because we're used to, we pull up on our Chrome or Internet Explorer or like whatever you have, Firefox, and you're browsing the web and you think, okay, well, is that the light web? Like, I don't know what the difference is. Like, so what's this dark web that I'm always hearing these nefarious things about? So I'm going to give you just kind of a high level, and the plan is definitely to do a deeper dive. And if someone's interested in it, please let us know. But yeah, so really what it starts with is a piece of software called Tor, Tor, and it stands for the Onion Router. So really what this software does, it's a browser. It's a lot of things that are kind of like baked in. It almost reminds me of like AOL back in the day, like where it was a browser, but it had like a bunch of stuff in it, right? It was kind of like a monolithic product. So the way Tor works, that's unlike the normal web, is it actually, instead of connecting directly to any website, it actually funnels through a bunch of random computers, right? So these are people that are like volunteers, anonymous people that can run literally like Onion Router nodes, right, for free. And so the idea is that by hopping through all these different systems, you're essentially anonymizing yourself, right? Because it almost reminds me of a James Bond movie, right, where you're like bouncing all over the map, and that's essentially what you're doing. And then, so when you actually come out the other end, so to speak, you put in a URL just like you would anything else. But these URLs usually end in a .onion address, which is not a normal address. If you went through that into a Chrome browser or something like that, it'd say, dude, what are you smoking? Like, so it's kind of an interesting place, the dark web. And candidly, it is as crazy as you've probably heard about, right? Because most of the stuff that's on here, granted, there's legitimate websites on there that, for instance, the FBI, almost every state kind of department and federal department has some sort of dark web presence. Why? I don't know. But I think that's kind of funny. But really, what do people get on the dark web for? It's all the things that you're not going to want to access off of the normal internet, right? Things that are illegal. So there's things on there like drugs, weapons, software. You actually talked about malware last week. So you can actually get on there and purchase malware that then you can use to infect other people's PCs. And all of that's really readily accessible. And you pay using cryptocurrency and things like that. But that is basically what the dark web is. So are there legit stuff on there? Sure. But in the end, is it really probably about more illicit activities? Absolutely. But again, if you have any more interest in finding out, how to access this, or you're kind of interested purely from a journalistic perspective, I'm sure, feel free to hit us up. We're more than happy to kind of get you pointed in the right direction. And that's about it.
Yeah, actually, the technology behind how that works is really interesting. So there's a reason why Tor is called the Onion Router. It's because of the layers of security that it goes through. It's like a onion. And so, yeah, it's really neat. We'll definitely do a follow-up video for it because there's a lot to explain there. But just know it's a pretty cool technology, but not something you're probably going to want to access all the time or ever.
And maybe not on your work computer. I don't know.
Yeah.
Although Neil has clearly offered to buy some drugs for us so that we can do a segment. So that's isn't that what you said?
No, that's not at all what I said, Matt.
Oh, I must have misunderstood what you just said. Sorry.
Yeah, you definitely did. But before we go too off the rails, that's all we have for this edition of Tech Talk Tuesday. Thank you for joining us. If you want to read up on any of the things that Chad or myself or even Matt, I guess, talked about, you can find it in the description below. And while you're there, go ahead and give us a follow, give our stream or video a like. It really helps out with the algorithms. That way we can keep spreading and building the show up. But yeah, if you have any questions that you want Matt and I to answer, such as what is the dark web, hit us up on Twitter. Matt's Twitter handle is @TheMattRay because, again, there is only one of him. And then mine is @NeilsHardy because apparently there's more than one of me. But yeah, so thanks again for joining us. We'll see you next Tuesday.